Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Amethyst edition of our Rise of the Floodborn set reveal. Teddy here, and I am joined alongside Shawn today, and we're going to be talking about all these new cards we have from set 2 in the lovely purple color. The first one is Arthur, Wizard's Apprentice. He's a 3 cost, uninkable. Has 1 strength and 3 willpower with 1 lore step. He is a Dreamborn, hero, sorcerer, and his ability student says whenever this character quests, you may return another chosen character of yours to your hand to gain 2 lore. In my opinion, this I believe is going to be one of the staple cards of the set. For how cheap he is and how many different bounce abilities we have with the other Mim and Merlin cards that we'll talk about in a little bit, this is going to be a very playable card to just bounce back and forth. And it only takes a few turns to set up. Like you can have this going by turn 5, I believe, with the other combos and stuff. Uh, and obviously, this is just my favorite card art wise. He looks like me a little, which makes it awesome. But Shawn, any thoughts on Arthur?
Absolutely, man. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a great card. Yeah, with so many different targets for returning your own stuff to your hand for value. This just adds even more value on top of it. So I think that personally, I think you'll see play. It also does depend on what direction decks decide to go in. Just because we think it's going to be good doesn't mean it's going to be good. I do know that a lot of people are excited to play the Madam Mim package,
Mm-hmm.
just because she's also bouncing stuff for value and using that in conjunction with the goat and the rabbit that we'll talk about here a little bit later too. Um, all around seems like a great card. So only time will tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, our next card is Blue Fairy Rewarding Good Deeds. She is a 2 cost inkable 1/1 with 1 lore Storyborn ally fairy. She's evasive and she has the ability Ethereal Glow. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, you may draw a card. I've already heard a lot of people talking about the Floodborn Matters cards and
Mm-hmm.
how they are all going to potentially see a decent amount of play because let's face it, a ton of decks are already shifting. They're already playing Floodborns, and the fact that it says play Floodborn is you could even you it activates when you actually just play it for cost or when you shift it. So that's really cool. And another thing people were talking about with these cards is potentially you won't they won't have enough value, but what you forget is when playing a 2 color deck, you're probably going to be using both of the Floodborn Matters cards that are
Mm-hmm.
available to you. So I potentially see her and also with the shift 2, a lot of the shift 2 characters we're getting, I think she sees play in a Floodborn
Yeah.
Matters deck. Maybe not competitive, but I think
No,
she
I
sees play.
think I think this would be like a fun you want to try something different at league type of deck. I don't
Maybe even in
think
multiplayer, it could
exactly,
be
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
But I don't see this. I don't see the Floodborn Matters deck becoming because I guess there's 6 Floodborns in each color at this point, with 4 from Rise of the Floodborn and 2 from the first chapter. So it's 12 total you can use between Amethyst and another color. And so I guess yes, you could make that argument, but just the stats of being a 1/1, it seems like, and it is cheaper, but I think that 1/1 is difficult because it's just gonna be taken out so
It's
easily.
true, and that's why the Emerald version of this Bucky, he is much better because
Yes,
he has a ward.
yes, yes, exactly.
So he can just stick on the board and not get touched. You're absolutely right.
Hmm.
If any of them see play, it'll probably be him. Something
Yeah.
even not even in a dedicated Floodborn build. If you're running cards, if you're playing in Emerald and you're running Floodborns, you might as well run him because he's just adding
Hmm.
value. So
Yeah.
I think like you said, maybe a little bit of fun, probably nothing crazy.
Yeah. So our next card is Chip the Teacup, Gentle Soul. He is a 1 cost inkable card with a 2/2 strength willpower stat line. He's a storyborn ally, and he also has 1 lore. He's vanilla, but I believe, at least for me, is the replacement to Archimedes, which is the 1/2/2 one from first chapter. I just like Chip better, in all honesty. Doctor Facilier is the next card. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie, so this will just go right into those Amethyst decks that's going to run those type of cards. Yeah, not really much to talk about there, I don't think, unless you got any amazing thoughts on Chip.
See you later, Archimedes.
Yep,
That's pretty much it for him.
pretty much it.
So our next card is Dr. Facilier, Savvy Opportunist. He is a 4-cost, inkable, 4 strength, 2 willpower, storyborn villain sorcerer with 1 lore. He has the ability evasive. I mean, I think I don't know. It's hard because I've overjudged evasive so much in the past and its capabilities. I guess aren't there better 4-drop evasive characters? Maybe not in this color. I guess.
I just like. Is it Pongo that's the 4-drop, or is he the 3-drop
I
in
think
Ruby?
Pongo and then also
It's
Emerald Tinkerbell are both 4-drop
yes,
evasives.
yes.
But I
Uh,
don't remember their stat line. He has a 4. He's 4-2, so he
yeah,
can.
that's
He's
that's
like
what that's where I was going with it. Like, it's a good. It's 4, which is like anything that evasive. If like they don't have like, but the thing is, he's cannons can get him. Fire the cannons.
right.
Anything above that can get him. Uh, and so I think that the two, if this was like 4-3, oh, that would be so much better. Even though you can get like any like what is it? Smash can get him. I just the 2 willpower makes me irk when I think
Me
about
too.
playing him.
I give you that. I give you that all day long. He is a little understated there. I also think if he does somehow see play outside of like limited, because I could see him played in
Mm-hmm.
limited.
Yeah.
I could see him as like a card you use against another evasive card. Like he's going to take out evasives from your opponent. Not you're not using him to quest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but even then, I probably not. Probably not outside of limited or maybe multiplayer.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. Our next card is Elsa Gloves Off. She's a 4-cost inkable 3/4 with 1 lore. She's a Storyborn Hero Queen Sorcerer, 4 right there, which is a lot. And she's Challenger 3, so boosting that 3 strength to 6 when she challenges. I honestly don't know where to go with this card. Like, it seems really good that she is 4 and she can hit for 6. I just yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on Elsa?
I don't think Challenger is as good as you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is like that's for the crackback. It's not you're not doing anything to further your game plan. It's so you can set your opponent back. That being said, I mean for 4 swinging for 6 in limited for sure gonna see play. In constructed though, unless we get some sort of like Challenger matters type of thing going on, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next card, Fairy Godmother, here to help. She's a 5-cost inkable 3/7 storyborn ally fairy with 2 lore. She's vanilla. Kind
But
of what?
I was gonna say, but like the 7,
7 bodies not bad. Like
no,
you're never going to be upset with that.
but I think there are better options.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are still better options at 5
Mm-hmm.
to be playing anyway. So, yeah, I know. Probably not, but she's okay.
Yeah, just a
Nice
pack
art.
filler uncommon.
Yeah,
Uh,
basically.
Speaking of better 5-cost fairy godmothers, we have the first Floodborn in Amethyst. This is Fairy Godmother Mystic Armor. She is a 5-cost inkable, 3/4 with 2 lore. She's a Floodborn Mentor Fairy, Shift 2, and then a very long and very confusing ability when you first read it. Forget the coach. Here's a sword. Whenever this character quests, you may gain Challenger. Your characters gain Challenger +3. And when this character is banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand this turn. So a lot going on here. So the first thing, all characters get Challenger +3, which is pretty nice. When I feel like this could go a long way in this, obviously in the challenging department. But the interesting part for this to me is when this character is banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. So basically, when Fairy Godmother quests, you're giving your characters beefy stats, and if they are taken out in a challenge, they just go right back to your hand.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So I think that's really good. And the fact that she's inkable and also shift 2. Now we don't have a 1-cost Fairy Godmother yet. So we can't get her down. The highest cost fairy godmother is 3, which we'll get into as the next card. So we can't really get her down until turn 4.
Right.
But yeah, do you have any thoughts on this fairy godmother?
I definitely think there are possibilities with her. I see her. She's more of she's a toned down Facilier from set one. It's uh basically here what you have is the same ability that Facilier had with bouncing your stuff back to your hand if it's banished in a challenge, or maybe his is just banished. Um, and you get the Challenger 3. In this set, we have a really nice Challenger archetype that seems to be coming together. So I
Yeah.
think she may see play
Mm-hmm.
um, in that deck as a hard 5-drop. If because I know I'm personally testing a Ruby, or will be testing a Ruby Amethyst challenge build that has some fun stuff, and she honestly kind of slots right in. But yeah, I love her. I think she's a great card personally. I do hate that you have to play her and that she has to quest to initiate it, which is definitely will be the reason she gets kept out of decks if she is kept out. But I think she
Mm-hmm.
could do. I think she could do work if you can stick her and she can start turning sideways. You're doing work with her.
Yeah, 100%.
We have Fairy Godmother, Pure Heart. She's a 3-cost inkable, 3/4 with Storyborn Ally Fairy with 1 lore. The ability just leave it to me. Whenever you play a character named Cinderella, you may exert chosen character. Um, I'm not in love with this card. I think we have other
Yeah.
options as far as exerting characters that aren't quite as clunky. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of great Cinderellas to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even the issue. But I don't know if it's worth putting her into a deck or just putting Elsa into a deck that you can exert to exert.
Yeah.
So
And
I mean,
especially you have the Elsa in color as well.
yeah,
So it just works even better.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think we kind of have just at least right now we just have a better version of her. But if we see a deck that's running maybe Steel Amethyst and it's like really Cinderella heavy, then maybe she
Yeah,
is a
for sure.
linchpin piece. But until we see that deck, I don't see her getting played.
Yeah. Agreed. Our next card is Hey Hey, Persisting Presence. He is a 2-cost inkable, 2/1 with 1 lore, Dreamborn ally, and his ability is he's back. When this character is banished in challenge, return this card to your hand. Kind of going off his little storyline when you think Hey Hey's gone, he just shows right back up. So basically, he just is gonna, unless he gets taken out by like Tinker Bomb or something like that that is dealing damage. I know we have a lot of that now. This is just gonna keep coming back to your hand, but I just also I don't think there. I think there's better 2-cost cards to be played than Hey Hey. Unfortunately,
I definitely agree with you. There are a lot better 2 drops to play than Hey Hey, but again, in that challenger shell where it's really meaningful for you to say he costs 2. So if you have Shere Khan on the battlefield or a couple of them, you're
yeah.
just the key is to give this thing rush.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you could
Pocket
give this,
watch.
yeah, if you got a pocket watch out there, you're getting a few points off of this guy every time. So
Mm-hmm.
could be fun. Uh, you know, cheap, easy, challenging fodder. So I mean, he could see play, and I mean, he's up over a buck. I think is what it says. I mean, it's
Yeah.
never buy the pre-orders, folks. You know,
Nope. Never buy the pre-orders.
but that's yeah. I don't know. And the art's phenomenal. The art is
Oh yes,
fantastic.
100%.
That goofy chicken has never looked more majestic. All right. Our next card is Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio's Conscience. He's a 2-drop inkable, 1/2 Storyborn Mentor with 1 lore. He has the evasive keyword, and his ability is that still small voice. When you play this character, if you have a character named Pinocchio in play, you may draw a card. I think he hurts in a similar way to the 3-drop fairy godmother, in
Mm-hmm.
that he needs to have Pinocchios out on the board for him to do anything. That being said, 2 cost for a little evasive body that draws you a card potentially, not terrible.
Yeah.
If we see Pinocchios getting played, you could for sure probably see him played as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we are going to see if one, at least one of those Pinocchios played. But we'll get into those a little later.
Yeah.
I do think this Jiminy Cricket could see play,
Sure.
and I can go more into depth on why when we do see those Pinocchios. But the next card is Kuzco Wanted Llama. He's a 2-cost inkable with a 1/2 stat line with 1 lore, Storyborn King. Uh, and his ability, okay, where am I, says whenever this character is banished, you may draw a card. So, yeah, more draw for Amethyst, like it needed more draw.
Right.
Uh, Kind of is, I think, the baseline of that color is being able to draw as many cards as possible. Again, I can't. I think there's better options, honestly. I think Yzma is honest even better. Just being able to scry essentially when you quest. Any thoughts on Kuzco, Shawn?
I think he's a good little card. Being able to draw is never bad.
Good and
This
limited.
could, yeah, especially in limited. This could be a really fun. I just think there's too many ways for us to draw not conditionally in
Mm-hmm.
Amethyst to really consider this for a spot in any deck right now, because I think those spots are filled up still by Friends on the Other Side, Maleficent, and I would imagine probably some other cards that we'll either talk about or have talked about or haven't talked about. So all in all, I think there's better options.
For sure. Yeah, I think Cusco just has better options. Yeah, that's all I got.
Our next card is Madam Mim Fox. She is a 3-cost inkable 4/3 Storyborn villain sorcerer with the ability Chasing the Rabbit. When you play this character, banish her or return another chosen character of yours to your hand. She also has Rush and 1 lore. I do find one. This is I want to talk a little bit about this card because I find this card to be great. I love
Mm-hmm.
this. I love this card very,
Yes.
very much. I find it interesting that she's one of the only characters that we've seen where her keyword is below her
Yeah,
ability.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like that's just interesting design.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's for a specific reason. Like I'm because it's like the first thing is like it matters more. Her you
Like when you
banishing
on the when you play, I feel like
exactly.
because you're seeing yeah.
But she's just honestly a better Rafiki.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many good bounce targets, so many good things that you can return to your own hand. Yeah, dude.
Arthur.
Yeah, in conjunction with Arthur as well. Any of this stuff, dude. Like she's phenomenal. And have a 4/3 for 3 with Rush. Be scared because
Yeah.
I see this card fitting into several decks.
Mm-hmm. Even if you're not uh like looking to play like the bounce deck, which I think she was obviously built for, but still like just like if you have a damaged character out, you can take them off the board and just play them right back down next turn or use them for ink. I think that's like one of the things is if you are low on ink, you're able to use like a character you played or something like that. Uh, and then rush, just a 4/3 line coming down can swing into a lot more things now. I think is great, and I think Madam Mim, the Fox version, will be seeing a lot of play in the coming months.
And she may not outright replace Rafiki, but
No.
using this in addition to Rafiki,
Mm-hmm.
I love it all day long
Yeah.
because
Oh yes, 100.
he's already
percent
proven how strong of a card he can be. This is a better version of that. I don't see any reason not to use them both.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Our next card is Madam Mim Purple Dragon. She is a 7-cost 7-cost inkable. Whoa, wrong word. Uh, 5 strength, 4 willpower with 4 lore. She's a storyborn villain, sorcerer, dragon, and has the keyword evasive. And her ability is I win, I win. When you play this character, banish her or return other 2 chosen characters of yours to your hand. So obviously, we have a lot of bounce stuff. This is another card that can be played down with Arthur, with any of the goats, or not goats, any of the Merlins. Uh, And so I think this is going to see a lot of play. I think that 4 lore is also just insane in having evasive. We saw how good Mickey Mouse was in the first chapter, just having the 4 lore and evasive, but also like being able to gain lore, like with if you go Arthur, Merlin Go, and just do other things. I think this is going to see a lot of play, in my opinion. Shawn, any thoughts on our good big dragon?
I honestly think she does see play. Whether how much play there is.
Mm-hmm. I only see her being like a 2 of in a deck, in my
Oh,
opinion.
absolutely.
No, that wouldn't be a 4 of, I don't think.
Her quote unquote drawback is that you have to banish you have to bounce 2 things to your hand. We already kind of see that bouncing things to your hand is not going to be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at her stats, she's cost 1 less than Mickey, and she has 2 more willpower than Mickey.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee someone's gonna play this card.
Yeah.
I would put money on it. There's just a 5/7 evasive with 4 lore. That's you do something about it right now, or you're gonna lose.
If I know anyone that's going to play this, it's going to be Franz from the Traverse Tavern.
Very well could be.
I have a feeling that it's going to be him. Putting it out there. If you're listening, buddy, you heard that.
Got called out, bro.
uh, yeah, Madam Mim,
All right.
Purple Dragon.
All right. So our next card is, you guessed it, another Madam Mim.
Mind blown.
Right. Madam Mim, Rival of Merlin, is a 5-cost inkable 2/5 with 2 lore. Floodborn villain sorcerer. She has shift 3, and she has the ability Gruesome and Grim. Exert, play a character with cost 4 or less for free. They gain rush at the end of your turn. Banish them. This card, I promise you, you won't even. I don't think shifting her is even necessarily a good idea. I think playing her at 5 is good enough
Yeah.
for what she does. Because I also think, for those of you that don't know, there will be a card we talk about later called Gruesome and Grim. It's her
Same
ability on
exact
a card.
ability.
It's her ability on a card,
Mhm.
like we saw from set 1 that they've carried that trend over to set 2, which I love. I'm all for it. It's really
Mhm.
because some of these abilities we see on characters, having them on a just as a one-off can be really fun.
Yeah.
So automatically I think about, you're going to be playing her with the Merlin package, the goat or the rabbit. You're going to plop one down for free. It gains rush, challenge in, have it go to the graveyard. I think it's go or not graveyard, but discard pile. I think it'll see more play even beyond that because it's 4 or less. So you could play any number of great, fantastic cards that can swing in. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think she's great personally.
Yeah. Uh, there's a joke I made with Jared, Citizens of Lorcana, that maybe the Glimmer Gang is really gruesome and grim. GG.
Right?
Uh, but no, I think that this Madam Mim is going to see a lot of play. I think out of the 2 big ones, I definitely see this one seeing the most play. In my opinion, I think obviously rare a lot easier to get. But if you're playing in high level competitions, everyone's going to have all the cards. But yeah, Gruesome and Grim, I think it's really good. I think it's going to be able to do a lot just unexpectedly. And people may, like, they'll see it come down, but they may not have time to react because you play this for 5. There's a lot of good 4-cost characters with high uh, strength and stats that can just barrel into other things. So I think this is going to see a lot of play just for that matter. Our next card, though, is the final Madam Mim card. It's a snake version of Madam Mim. She's a 2-cost inkable 3/3 with 1 lore, storyborn villain sorcerer, and her ability is Just You Wait. Whenever you play this character, banish her or return another chosen character of yours to your hand. So I believe same ability as the Fox, but just without rush. I think it's still just another card to play down to get those Merlins back out into play, or back into your hand and then playing back down.
Yeah, seeing her being able to do the same bounce shenanigans that the rest of the Mims are capable of, it's good because at her cost, she's a really easy way to start popping things back to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And her stats aren't terrible either. Like a 2-cost 3/3, that's not bad. So
No, not at all.
I see her. I see this card getting played quite a bit. Honestly,
I see all of them getting played. If you're building around, I think you're building around that archetype, the Merlin Mim archetype, I think that's going to be a deck in and of itself.
Yeah, you're
Just
probably
bounce
right.
shenanigans and stuff.
You're probably correct. I'll give you that. Speaking of Merlin, our next card is Merlin Crab. 3 cost, inkable, 3/3 with 1 lore. Storyborn Mentor Sorcerer. He has the ability Ready or Not. When you play this character and when he leaves play, chosen character gains challenge of +3 this turn. So that's the thing that all the Merlins have in common is whenever it enters play and whenever it leaves play, it does something. I think arguably this might be the weakest of his transformations. I think
Yeah.
the other three are just better for what they can do because this guy you're really not doing a whole lot with this guy other than playing him and trying to bounce him back or trying to get him banished as quickly as you can to make his ability pop off again.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Merlin Crab, I don't see him seeing. I don't think he's going to see play. I think the other versions see a lot more play.
Yeah. Merlin Goat. Gonna see a lot of play. Uh,
Absolutely.
this is the best version of the Merlin transformations. Like I said, Merlin Goat, 4 cost inkable, 4/3 with 1 lore, Storyborn Mentor Sorcerer. Ability is Here I Come. When you play this character, when he leaves play, gain 1 lore. Wow, just like that's amazing. That's instantly 2 lore ascent from him. And obviously with all the bounce that Mim has and just this card, it's so good. And the fact that it's only an uncommon, like that makes it even crazier. But yeah, this is going to see a lot of play. It's going to see 4 ofs in every deck that is played in. Yeah. Any thoughts on this Merlin, Shawn?
He sets a really good. I think he was the first card that we saw that gave us a way to gain lore that wasn't questing.
Yes.
And I think it's a good trend. It's good to see that they're willing to open up avenues of winning this game that aren't just turn my card sideways. Like you said, I think he is hands down the best of the Merlin transformations. There is one other very close second, I believe. In my personal opinion, it's a close second at least. Um, but yeah, phenomenal card. He's going to see a ton of play. Going to see a phenomenal amount of play. Just like our next card, I think sees quite a bit of play as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have Merlin Rabbit, 4 cost, uninkable, 2/3 Storybook Mentor Sorcerer with the ability, 1 lore with the ability Hoppity Hip. When you play this character and when he leaves play, you may draw a card. That in and of itself, like it's not as good as some of the other draw, but it's repeatable draw is
Mm-hmm.
what's so darn good about this. Theoretically, if you already have him on the field and you can bounce him and then play him with Mim and then challenge in to have him get banished, you're going to draw 3 cards off of that. That's pretty decent,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he sees play as well. Probably
Mm-hmm.
not quite as much as Goat, but I definitely think he sees play.
Yeah, for sure. I think that draw, obviously, just more draw for Amethyst, like it needed more.
Right.
But yeah, I think Merlin Rabbit sees a lot of play. I think or not, okay, not a lot of play. I misspoke. He sees a good amount of play.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think
Yep.
that draw is just really good to be able to replenish your hand and keep cycling through your deck. So yeah, our next card is the base version of Merlin. He's Merlin Shapeshifter. In his good old wizard form, he's a 4 cost inkable 1/5/1 with Storyborn Mentor Sorcerer, and his ability is Battle of Wits. Whenever one of your other characters is returned to your hand from play, this character gets +1 lore this turn. So when you are bouncing with Mim and pulling stuff back to your hand, if Merlin's on the board, you're also ramping him up, getting, I would say, 1 or 2 lore per turn extra on him. Uh, I think, obviously, he's the centerpiece. I think you hopefully want to have him down when you are doing this bounce shenanigans. I think he sees play in this deck. I'd say 3, possibly 4 if you are looking for just that extra consistency. Shawn, thoughts on Merlin Shapeshifter?
I think this is going to be the first card that we disagree on. I don't think he sees play. I don't think
Hmm.
he sees much play at all. I think we have other good bounce payoffs. Like I think Arthur outshines him completely.
Mm-hmm.
If Arthur wasn't already a card, I could see this getting a lot more play. But I could see maybe a 2 of in a deck. Just as a little bit of a backup plan. If your Arthurs get taken out or you don't draw into them, etc. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm middle of the road on him.
Yeah, I can see that. I think this one has to be tested just to see
Sure.
how many times how much it truly impacts the game and adding that extra lore. If you even are able to add extra lore turn after turn, or if he just sits there as because he can't really do much challenging. So yeah, I think a lot of testing will have to go into that card for sure.
Our next card is Merlin Squirrel. 2 cost, inkable, 2/1, Storyborn Mentor Sorcerer with 1 lore. Look before you leap. When you play this character and when he leaves play, look at the top card of your deck. Put it either on the top or the bottom of your deck.
It's Yzma.
Yeah, I mean it's a repeatable Yzma. So I mean, and this one just happens when he enters and when he leaves. Two at a 2 cost. I think maybe a combo of like him and the snake, and then the fox into the snake. Play
Mm-hmm.
this again, stuff like that. I think that could. It will definitely help you draw into what you want to draw into. It's definitely something good for that, and I think this archetype is going to be really heavy on trying to draw good stuff. So he might see some decent amount of play.
Yeah, I think that early game being able to sift through your deck and kind of like uh, go through what you want and you don't want early game, I think that's going to help a lot. Uh, our next card is one of my favorites from the set. Peter Pan's Shadow, Not Sewn On. Such a great grab, I think, uh, to put in as a character because I don't think any of us thought about it as that as a fact of the character before we saw it. Uh,
I saw the idea tossed around a little bit
okay.
like on the Discord, but I don't think anybody was like firmly like, yeah, this will be its own card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he is a 4 cost uninkable, 2/3 with 2 lore, storyborn ally. He is evasive, he has rushed, and he also has tiptoe, which says your other characters with rush gain evasive. I could honestly see this seeing some play in like a deck that has a solid amount of rush. I don't know about you, but I feel like this could do some work, I believe.
It could. It absolutely could. The only thing that I see is that could be bad here is I don't know if you can get him down fast enough.
Yeah.
That's my only problem with Peter Pan's Shadow is beautiful art. I love that it's his shadow, but he's clearly in the world of Lorcana. He's
Mm-hmm.
not in his own world, which is really cool. Good lore count, decent stat line, good abilities. The whole idea of him giving other characters with rush evasive, that's very interesting because there's a lot of good rush characters in Amethyst already.
Uh-huh.
So there could be some really fun interactions there as well because if you give all your characters with a rush evasive, they swing in with rush, and then unless your opponent has evasives, they can't crack back, which could be cool. That
Mm-hmm.
could be a fun little, if we see like a Ruby Amethyst rush evasive like sneaky type deal going on, that could be cool. That could be really fun.
Yeah, I didn't know Sneaky Buffalo was in Lorcana, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter Pan Shadow, everyone.
Our next card is Pinocchio Star Attraction. He is a 2 cost uninkable 1/1 with 3 lore. He's vanilla because he's a 2 cost with 3 lore.
Yeah, that
um,
says it all.
it's highly debated if this sees play. I think that it is going to be tested into the ground because
Mm-hmm.
people will want this to work. And I think maybe in the right build it could work. Similarly to how Lilo works, but this comes out a turn later, giving your opponent even more another turn to just draw into a smash or a cannons or something like that. So high risk, high reward. I think is what this card's all about.
Yeah, this was the one I was talking about earlier with Jiminy Cricket.
Right,
Mind
having this
blank
down
there.
already.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay. Yep.
yeah. I think
Yeah, I could see
they're
that.
both 2 costs, but if you're able to get Pinocchio down a turn, he can't do anything, and if he is able to survive to the next turn, you can play Jiminy Cricket down, uh, draw a card, and then also quest for 3, and then you have another evasive character on the board. Uh, so I think there could be something there. I don't know how. or not proficient. What's the word I'm looking for? Efficient. That will be. But I think there's something there. I do like the 2 for 3. I think that like is an early game, just like it kind of like sends your opponent into a little bit of a panic, seeing, oh, that's a lot of lore early. I need to catch up, and they could do some misplays here or there. Uh, yeah, I think it could see play. I think, like you said, it will be tested into the ground. Uh, the next Pinocchio card we have is his Floodborn version. It's Pinocchio on the run. He's a 5 cost uninkable 3/3 with 2 lore. Like I said, Floodborn hero. He has Shift 3, and his ability is listen to your conscience. When you play this character, you may return chosen character or item with cost 3 or less to their player's hand. So you can choose to bounce a card of your own back to your hand or item to play it back down or do something like that. Or you can do stuff to your opponent and fiddle with their playing field. Shawn, do you think this Pinocchio sees any play? I'm kind of torn if it will, really.
Um, if it does, I don't think it sees play on the other Pinocchio we just talked about. I think
Mm-hmm.
it will see play with the third one we're about to talk about. His ability's not bad, and his cost versus stats and everything, it's not bad. Like you can shift him on turn 3. That means on turn 3 you can bounce, let's say, Jiminy Cricket back to your hand and play him again. You know what I mean? Get more value that way. So I'm torn. We'll see how many other let's see what I think this might be a item build card. This might be more geared towards like items that we have or haven't seen, because there are several decent items.
Yeah.
And I mean, the cool part about an item would be is you could exert it to do what, if it's an exert one, you exert it to do what it's supposed to do. Shift Pinocchio, bounce it, play it again, immediately use it again, because you don't have to wait with an item. So there could be some fun shenanigans like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess we'll go right into our last Pinocchio, a third of the 3, which I find interesting also. All 3 Pinocchio are uninkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have Pinocchio Talkative Puppet. He is a 2-cost uninkable 1/1 with 1 lore, Storyborn hero. He has the ability Telling Lies. When you play this character, you may exert chosen opposing character. Now, I think, like I said, I think that this is the intended target for the other one. You play this down on turn 2, exert something on your opponent's side, maybe swing into exert their Lilo and swing into it, something like that. And then next turn, shift onto Shift Pinocchio.
Yeah.
That could be really fun. And then, or wait another turn so you can get, or like play this Pinocchio, then play Jiminy Cricket, then shift this, bounce Jiminy Cricket, play him again, do all sorts of fun stuff. And I'm just using Jiminy Cricket because it's in the same franchise. I'm sure there's other options of cards that you could use for this too. So
yeah, I think the Pinocchios in general, I don't know how much play they'll see. I think there's just a lot better archetypes at this point.
Sure.
That can be played. But again, people will test it just to see. But I don't see, just like I said, in general, the Pinocchio seeing much play. Yeah. Our next card is Winnie the Pooh. He's a honey wizard. Brandon B Squared 24's favorite. Actually, I think the
Sapphire one.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, but as far as art, this one is just, you can't top this. This is some of the best art in any trading card game I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, it's just amazing. 5-cost inkable, 5/5 with 2 vanilla. Dreamborn hero sorcerer. I don't know how much play he'll see. I think his stat line is great. But yeah, he could like be slotted in as just like a good attack, or not attacker, good challenger, for the right terminology. But yeah, I think he's just here for the art, and I'm all for it.
I don't think he's going to see play. I think this was one of the I have this theory with Ravensburger and with Lorcana that there are some really phenomenal arts that they didn't put on good cards. I don't know if that actually holds true. This is just my little pet theory, because it'll allow these phenomenal arts to actually there'll be more of them, and more people can actually collect them. Because don't forget, a big portion of this game is collecting. It's Disney. It can't not be. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's beautiful. Limited, he'll be great and limited. He's not
as
a
a
bad
common.
card. He's not a
No.
bad card. It's just kind of you know.
Mm-hmm.
Our next card is Yzma, Scary Beyond All Reason. She is a 6-cost inkable 4/4 Floodborn villain sorcerer with 2 lore. She has Shift 4 and the ability Cruel Irony. When you play this character, shuffle another chosen character card into their player's deck. That player draws 2 cards.
Huh.
I do believe that counts as characters. Uh, okay, if you got rid of one of your characters, that would be your character leaving play. So this works well with the Merlins.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting to draw 2 cards. Or if you're really in a bind, you could get rid of something else on your opponent's side of the board and let them draw 2 cards for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she sees play.
Yeah,
I
I do
think she
too.
sees a fair amount of play personally, and I don't think you're necessarily even gonna have to shift her. I think even at 6, this isn't bad.
Yeah, I think like that same and like thing with Elsa. I never really saw Elsa being shifted.
See, exactly. Yep.
This could be that same thing. And Elsa was an 8 cost, so a bit higher to get to, but in the deck she was in with Ruby Amethyst, you were usually playing Be Prepared turn 7, and then Elsa turn 8. And I could see Yzma like being in that same line, just like straight 6 drop. And obviously we do have a very good Yzma in the 2 drop with the Scry ability. So I think there could be some shifting, but I think,
Yeah,
like you
you
said,
could. This
Shawn,
should. That's true. She could be. She could be a good shift target.
but yeah, like you said, this is, I think, a very good card. Okay, I've used those terms very loosely. Uh, it is a good card that has the ability to see play, has the ability to impact a game, and impact you when you are drawing, but also, or when you are in a bind and need to draw, you can pound stuff. Or if you really do need to get rid of something on your opponent's board, it can take that off as well. But the final character we have is Yzma without Beauty Sleep. Honestly, one of the ugliest cards in
Yep.
the set. In any of Lorcana, 3 cost Inkable, 3/4 with 1 lore, vanilla, storyboard villain sorcerer. Just pack filler, in my opinion. Nothing too great.
She does look hideous in the art, but I love that this shows like her true self. You know what I mean? It's kind of like this is like without being all painted up and all grandiose like Yzma normally is. This is her very much her outside matching her inside. You know what I mean? But beyond that, yeah, I don't see this seeing a whole lot of play at all.
Yeah. That's all.
All right, that was our last character. Are going to move into our actions now. Our first action is also a song. It's Gruesome and Grim, 3-cost uninkable. As I said, it's an action song. Its ability reads: play a character with cost 4 or less for free. They gain rush at the end of the turn. Banish them. This is the same ability that's on the Shift Mana Mim card.
Mm-hmm.
Good ability. I could see this card be getting play as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially in that archetype, this doesn't. The fact that it can be sung, along with a lot of what we've seen with some of the best actions in this game, are songs because you can play them for quote unquote free.
Yes. Yeah. I think like that the ability on the Mim card is great, and be able to play it outside, even if you didn't want to play the Mim card, you can still play this and it will work very well in any Amethyst deck that it is in.
100%.
Yeah. Next one is a card we've had for a while now. It's I'm Stuck, a 1-cost inkable action, and then chosen exert a character can't ready at the start of their next turn. I do think this sees play. I think, and obviously like, there are ways to ready cards back up, but I think this could, with how cheap it is, to be able to not, if like one of your opponent's characters, you know you're not going to be able to remove them with a challenge, but you can keep them exerted, and if they don't have a way to ready them back up, I could see it being slotted into these decks.
I think the one thing that this has going for it is the fact that it is a 1-cost action,
Yeah.
and we've already seen that there's going to be there's already some sort of actions matter type of archetype floating around out there that I think is Emerald, and I think an Emerald Amethyst action matters deck would be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
There are quite a few good actions so far. At least even just in this set with I'm Stuck and Gruesome and Grim, they're both fantastic. Our next action's okay. Also, actually does work with that actions matters because it is also kind of cheap to play.
Mm-hmm.
Adorable art. It's a scene that anybody that knows Winnie the Pooh, they know this scene. And it's very iconic and I love it. So
Yeah, for sure.
next card is Legend of the Sword and the Stone. It's a 2-cost inkable action song that says chosen character gains Challenger 3 this turn. I don't know that this would see play other than in an Actions Matter deck. I think that
Yeah.
there are better cards that do this and more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a song, so that is always nice. But again, I just don't. I don't really see it making it past limited.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's like limited. It'll be great to give things Challenger 3, but other than that, not going to see much play. Our next card is our first item in Amethyst is a 4-cost uninkable. It's Binding Contract, which said that first. And its ability reads for all turn. You exert the card, then you exert one of your characters, and after doing that, you get to exert chosen character. So a lot of exerting going on here. But yeah, I don't honestly know. It's it just seems like there's easier ways to do this. To like Elsa, for example. And I know this is an item and you can like do this over and over, but like there's just easier ways to do this, I feel like.
Yeah, easier and faster, but not as
Mm-hmm.
consistent. I think that's the one reason that this card
Yeah,
might be better is just because it can be consistent. And let's not forget that there are a handful of cards in this game that care about being exerted,
true.
especially turn one.
Yeah.
This card makes Mother Gothel way better because you can drop Mother Gothel and you can exert her to exert something on their side of the board, and Bob's your uncle. Her ability is
Off to the
it's already
races.
off to the races.
Yeah.
So, in that kind of thing, I think you know how I feel about uninkable cards. There's a reason they're uninkable. Just because
Mm-hmm.
we don't see the reason doesn't mean it's not there. Um, I think we will see it though. I think we will see a day where this card actually sees play, and people are like, "Huh, I didn't realize."
Yeah.
I probably not today though.
No.
I will
No.
be honest.
No.
um, our next card is
Croquette? Croquette.
croquet.
Words are hard. I know.
Crockett.
Crockett. Rocket mallet.
Oh, it's croquet mallet. Oh, it's a 1-cost uninkable item. Its ability is hurtling hedgehog. Banish this item. Chosen character gains rush this turn. Man, I want to see the reasoning behind why this is an uninkable card, but I think this is
Yeah.
definitely one of them that it's going to take a while, and I don't know that it'll be really obvious why it's uninkable.
Until it's like deadly obvious.
Exactly, and I think that our next card also is the same way a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, a little bit less so, but yeah, it'll have its day hopefully. But yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I think all of these items are uninkable, which is interesting.
Yes, lots of
Uh,
uninkable cards in Amethyst
yeah.
this set, lots of them.
Then going on to our next card is Perplexing Signpost. Like I said, it's uninkable. It's a 2-cost item. And its ability is to Wonderland. Banish this item. Return chosen character of yours to your hand. Guess it can go into the Mim and
Yeah, that's the only world I see it living in is in some
yeah,
sort of Mim Merlin build or
yeah.
some sort of bounce build. But again, aren't there better ways to do this?
There are like just on those cards there are better ways to do this stuff.
Because this might as well just be an action that says pay 2, return chosen character to your hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
Um,
understand why it has like it's an item or why it's on the board.
right, and maybe we will. Maybe we'll
Mm-hmm.
see the genius behind it some way.
Yeah,
So, all right, here's the last card from Amethyst in Rise of the Floodborn. It is arguably the best item too.
yeah.
The
I think it is the best
yeah,
item.
yeah. The Sorcerer's Spellbook. It is a 3-cost uninkable item that has the ability Knowledge. You exert, pay 1 ink, gain a lore. pretty straightforward, pretty great. Because
Yeah,
any way
just
to and any just having it, we've already seen isn't there another item, Eye of the Fates, that
yes.
gives lore to a character? This is essentially the same thing, except you don't need that character.
Mm-hmm.
And we already saw Eye of the Fates do a lot of real good work in Sapphire. Anytime there was Sapphire, I know a lot of people were running that card. I see those two cards working together.
Yeah, Amethyst
It's gonna be
Sapphire.
pretty cool. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. Amethyst Sapphire just exert to gain lore, essentially, is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think because you can basically be at 19, and if you
Yep,
have this in your hand,
you win.
yeah, like it's
Unless well, no, yeah. If you have it in your hand and if you have 4 ink, you win the game.
yeah, and I feel like at that point in the game, you're gonna have
Yeah, you're
four
probably right.
ink. I don't think there's a way for us to lose ink yet.
Oh,
So
you never know though. It could happen in a future set. I mean, I'm sure it'll
exactly,
happen in the
yeah,
future set.
I think that's definitely something that's been thought about. But yeah, that is Amethyst, Rise of the Floodborn.
Woo!
Lots of fun stuff. I think
Yeah.
for me, the Mim and Merlin is what I want to try out first, just see how those shenanigans go. Uh, but yeah, we hope you all enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you think about these cards down below in the comments. We hope you all have a great day and glimmer on.